In this lecture, we're going to be looking at advanced selection tools. We're going to be learning how to do three things. We're going to first of all learn how to make our objects translucent for selection. We're going to learn how to use the circle select tool and the box select tool with the hotkeys C and B. So let's go in to Blender. Now, a cube isn't the ideal object to use for this lecture because it doesn't really have enough vertices. So I'm going to delete my cube by pressing X and left click, and then I'm going to create an object with more vertices. So I'm going to choose a UV sphere. Let's scale that up just a little bit and zoom in. There we go. Now we're going to move in to edit modes. To deselect everything, I'm going to press the hotkey A so that nothing is selected. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my object translucent for selection. To do that, I come down to where the select tools are for vertex select, edge select and face select, and the next icon over is limit selection to visible. Now this button is currently turned on. It's a limiter and it's on by default, so we're actually going to turn this off. And you may have noticed in the video, if you're following along on your Blender projects, then you will have noticed it too, that we can now see objects in the background. If we're in a vertex select, we can actually select objects towards the back of our mesh. So I'll select this vertex, and if I pan around my view, you will see that I have selected a vertice on the opposite side of my sphere. Let's do that one more time. As you can see, having translucent or having the limiter off basically means that you have to be just that little bit more careful in what you select. You've got to make sure that what you select is correct, but it does greatly enhance the number of vertices that you can select from any given viewpoint. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this on again. I'm going to show you circle select and box select. To enter circle select, we simply press the C key, and we now have a circle hovering over our cursor. By holding down the left click on the mouse button, we can begin selecting any vertices that we want. To confirm this, we right click to exit circle select. So there we go, we can now select with circle select. The other way to do this is to go to select tool and press circle select. And now we can select vertices again. We can do the same with edges and faces. To deselect vertices, edges and faces while in the circle select mode, we press down on our scroll mouse on our wheel. So by pressing down on the scroll mouse and hovering over, you can see that we deselect our vertices. Any vertice that ends up being in our circle is deselected. And then we can confirm. Here's where it gets a little bit more interesting. I'm going to deselect everything, so I'm going to press C and deselect everything. There are two things I want to show you now. First of all, we can increase and decrease the size of our selection circle. By scrolling up on our mouse, we can decrease the size of our selection circle for more precise selection. If we want to select multiple vertices, edges or faces quickly, we can scroll down to increase the size of our circle as much as we want. So we'll make it this big, and then we can select all of these vertices at the same time. Very, very useful tool. It's also handy that we can encompass an entire object and just one click. And there we go. Everything that we can see is selected. However, if we pan around, what was not visible could not be selected. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press C, and I'm going to press the middle mouse button to deselect everything. Make my circle select back to a standard size and come out of it. Now we still have a few vertices selected. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to press A, and that has deselected everything. Now I'm going to make my object translucent by turning off the limiter. Now if I enter circle select, make it smaller again, I can now select not only vertices in the front, but also vertices in the back. So we can pan around and we can see that vertices all around the shape have been selected. So that's the circle select. Pressing A to undo that. Now for box select. There are two ways we can do this. We can either go to select and border select, or we can press B. When we press B, we get two grid lines. To activate box select, we have to create the box by pressing and holding left click, then scrolling to create our box like you would with a text box in Word, and then once we're happy with the selection, release. So I'll show you by B, and once again B, hold down left click, scroll over the vertices you want so that they enter the box, and release. The same rule applies in terms of translucent objects. If the object is not translucent, then I'll go box select one more time. Any objects, any vertices that were not visible at the time of the box select will not be selected. To take away vertices, edges and faces in box select, we press B, then hold down the third mouse button, make our box, and release. And there we go. So that is how we use the circle and box select tools, and that is also how we can make our object translucent for better selection. Thanks guys, hope you learned a lot from that lecture, and I will see you in the next one.